Okay. I made it out alive, guys! That's right, law-teching prison break. It was a pain, you know, and there's no way I would have gotten out of there if it wasn't for help. You want to know who helped me? I don't even know who it was, but he was really cool. He stormed into the prison in freaking Wano, and he beat the crap out of Hawkins and Drake. He was wearing all black, and he had this really cool, like, skull mask on, and he was like, let's be honest here, really kind of edgy. He kept saying stuff like, welcome to the graveyard shift, and he just took out this giant gun, and he gave me one of them, and he just obliterated everybody in the prison, and he's like, you gotta get out of here now, and we got out of there, and yeah, it was pretty cool, epic escape. They should really make a video game out of it. Anywho, today is gonna be talking about One Piece chapter 951 titled Rampage. I don't know why. Actually, does anyone remember the old game? I think it was on the Sega Master System, Rampage. It was a really basic, like, 8-bit game. I think you just played as, like, a bunch of, like, kaiju, like, giant monsters. I think it was, like, a giant lizard and a giant gorilla, and you just, like, go around and beat the crap out of each other and, like, destroy the city. So, yeah, that's something. It's a good chapter. Honestly, I would have expected this to be the end of Act 2, because we get a lot of recaps all over Wano where everybody's at right now, and we even get a return of Usopp and Robin's, or sorry, Usohachi and Orobi's faces. So I thought, like, all right, we did the last time, because literally means just like the break in between the chapters, or the in between the acts of you know, a kabuki play. So I thought, like, we're getting the again. I don't know. There is a break next week. It's a Shonen Jump break, not an Oda break, but still a break nonetheless. But anyway, let's get into it. The cover page for this week is actually the promotional art for Stampede, because with the break next week, that means that, well, actually, no, it's coming out on the 6th, so with or without the break, you know, the next chapter will be after the movie's release. It's pretty cool. It's pretty much just Luffy trying to eat a bunch of food while all the other members of Stampede, like, you know, Warlords are there, like Boa and Buggy, but you also have Smoker and Lucci are there. Law's there getting a hamburger on his head, so that's, I'm sorry, Law, I'm sorry. You got invited to a banquet, and Luffy's there. Hancock's in the background grabbing Smoker's cheek like this, just like, spit it out right now. And I was trying to figure out, like, where is this going? Is, like, she, like, grabbing Smoker, like, going in for the kiss or whatever? I'm like, what is this? What I assume this is that, of course, she's in love with Luffy, and so Smoker is eating the food, which should all be for Luffy. So I think that's what it's about. Hancock grabbing Smoker's mouth like, spit it out right now, because that man over there, he's gonna be king of the pirates, and he's gonna be my husbando, and he deserves every scrap of meat on this table, so you spit it out right now, you Navy piece of Okay. So, it's a good covers page. I like it. Sabo's there, too. Was it confirmed Sabo was going to be in the movie before this? I don't remember seeing any Sabo promotional art. Probably might have been out there. I just didn't see it. There's a lot of characters going to be in this movie. So, Sabo's going to be there as well. But most importantly, Buggy. Buggy's going to be there. And it seems like Luffy is arguing with Buggy in particular, like trying to grab food out of Buggy's mouth. So, yeah, Buggy versus Luffy rematch? Who's to say? Alright, so moving on to the chapter, though. We're moving along a lot in this chapter. Like I said, we're kind of cutting all over Wano. We go to Curry, we go to the Flower Capital, we cut to Onigashima at the end. A lot of stuff to really unpack here. Okay, so the first thing we got is Lord Orochi, and he is hopping mad, ladies and gentlemen. What did you tell me you didn't find all the Straw Hats? You were supposed to capture them! I'm upset now! I'm Lord Orochi! Alright, so he's mad because nobody has captured the Straw Hats. Even the Onibawan couldn't do it, of course. They all got away, so that's good on our end. We know none of them got captured. However, Fuku Rokuju, he comes out and he says, well, you know, you have to understand, you know, we caught Law, though. That's like the basic same thing. I mean, he could still explain the whole situation with the rebellion and stuff, so he's really worth it, okay? Even if we didn't capture any of the Straw Hats, we have Law, and I think that's good enough. And Orochi seems content with that. He also questions about the state in the capital. Like, how are the situations in my flower capital? And he's like, don't worry, Lord Orochi, everything is locked down. Ever since the whole Yasuie execution incident, we got the Onibawan scouring the city. We're, you know, making sure everybody coming in and out, you know, has to go through the checkpoints first. They have all the wanted posters of all the different Straw Hats, as well as Law's crew, like Beppo and Sachi and Penguin, who Sachi, I believe, is called Orca here, and Beppo is just White Bear, so that's kind of funny. And then, of course, the Straw Hats all have their Wano names, so it's not Nami, it's Onami, all right? So, yeah, and also I was curious about what Sanji's was going to be. Not just because Sanji always has bad luck with wanted posters, but also really bad luck with wanted posters, if you remember it. I mean, he had the first one, which was a bad sketch, and then later on, I mean, this isn't the most flattering wanted poster ever, but it's better than his first one. At least it's an actual photo, but he had bad luck with it because it was originally the only alive, and now his most recent one has Vinsmoke on it, so yeah. His Wano one is actually a lot more flattering. It's just him drawn in the typical, like, you know, Japanese style. It's nothing, like, crazy, like, offensive. However, I was curious as whether or not the Soba Mask character was going to be Sanji's wanted poster, right? Because during the Yasuie's execution, Sanji appeared just as himself and fought against Drake. So the people of Wano know Sangoro, the Soba salesman, is an enemy. But also you had Soba Mask appear and fight against Page One. Now, I'm assuming that people could, like, put 2 and 2 together and figure out, like, it's the same guy, but you never know with One Piece. You'd think people would be able to figure out that, you know, Frankie and the General Frankie are not the same being, but you know how it goes. So, right, maybe Soba Mask has his own wanted poster. I'm assuming, though, they just figured out, like, no, Sangoro, it's the same guy, all right? So that's why he has the wanted poster there. Also, keep in mind that the wanted posters that we see in Wano, they don't have bounties on them. It's not like, you know, we'll give you 500 gold if you bring in Onami or Sangoro or Shinobu. Shinobu also has an updated one. Although it's not updated in the sense of, like, it has her what she looks like now. It looks like back when she was, like, the lady killer Shinobu, when she was, like, biting part of her, like, a little handkerchief thing. You know, she was really super drop-dead sexy. She's still really super drop-dead sexy, if we're being honest, but, you know, it's just like, oh no, she's back in business, so throw her image up there as well from what we remember her as. So yeah, Shinobu's is there, but yeah, there's no reward. I mean, there might be, conceivably, maybe if they bring somebody in, like if they bring in, like, Zoro or somebody, maybe Orochi would be so happy he gave out some money, but this is more of like just, Orochi's decree is law. You don't do it because you get paid, you do it because Orochi decreed it as such. You know, and they even go on to say, I mean, it's very totalitarian, it's just like, if you're harboring them, if you see them but don't report it, or if you think you see them but don't report it, you are every bit as guilty as they are. So there's going to start kind of a panic here. People are going to start seeing probably the Straw Hats left and right. Like, I saw him over there, I saw him over there. There are people who probably be turning stuff in all the time. So not necessarily a bad thing if, like, it's kind of like a witch hunt where everybody's looking around and seeing the Straw Hats out of the corner of their eyes. Like, I think that's them. I think that's them. Do you think that's them? I think that's them. You know, that's not going to cause a, you know, a panic at all. But we also have something I knew was coming up, and I'm really glad we got it in this chapter. We got the Mima Wari Gumi, all right? And these are basically Orochi's top samurai. I figured on top of the ninja, the Onibawan, Orochi would also gather up the strongest samurai in the country that he could trust to have part of his, like, royal entourage, okay? And that is the Mimawari Gumi. All right, so we only get to see, well, actually we get to see 4 of them. One of them is a kind of a large guy. He's kind of tucked away in the back. First guy we get to see kind of looks like a 70s kind of disco dude. We also get a girl. We also get this guy that kind of looks like a character out of, like, I don't know, Knights of the Zodiac or something. And then we also have this one guy in the back. He kind of looks like he's covered in freckles, or he has, like, 5 o'clock shadow on his forehead or whatever, but he's like a big dude that's just like, and they're all walking around. None of them really have like a goofy expression on their face. You know, usually when Oda, like with the Onibawan, you know, like you have some of the Onibawan that are looking pretty serial. You have a few others that just kind of look kind of goofy, like that flower girl that's just like, ha! But no, yeah, the Mimawari Gumi don't seem like that. They come to town and it's like, all right, we only get called when serious business is afoot. We only get summoned by Lord Orochi when, you know, he really needs some people taught a lesson, right? That's us right there. So there's probably more of them. We only get to see 4 right here. Actually, wait, no, there might be 5. I think there's another guy way in the background. He kind of looks like a cat. He's got, like, whiskers. I didn't even see that guy earlier when I read the chapter this morning, okay? But he's also another, yeah, he's wearing the same outfit. They all seem to be wearing, like, a, sort of like a Captain Hiyori sort of deal from Bleach, where it's like a cloak that's over them. It's white and they got like red frills, like also kind of similar to Naruto's when he wears his like 7th Hokage outfit, you know. So they're all wearing the same kind of outfit. They look pretty serious, I guess, except for the Whisker guy. He looks kind of like cheery. But aside from that, yeah, they're all going to be pretty strong. We're going to have a lot of fights that we're going to need by the end of this arc. You understand that, right? We got like a dozen Onibawan that need fights. We got the freaking Mimawari Gumi now. We got people like just the Kaido's crew, you know, the Beast Pirates. That's going to be a separate thing. We've got a lot of fights coming up, okay? So we now cut, we're still in the Flower Capital, but we cut on top of a rooftop where it's Sanji and Shinobu that are just kind of observing everything from atop, like kind of like Batman. And they're all just kind of like, okay, yeah, this ain't good. Yeah, there's people all around the capital spreading out wanted posters of everybody, and now they're bringing out the big guns and everything. The Onibawan are everywhere, the samurai are everywhere, and they're like, we're not going to be able to stay in the Flower Capital much anymore. And Shinobu says, like, oh, not even the Flower Capital, like, they're going to be spreading this to pretty much every major town in Wano. Like, we could probably still stay in, like, the small towns and stuff, and, like, deserted, like, ghost towns and things, but when it comes to, like the Bakura district in Curry, like, we can't go back there either. Like, in any major city that Orochi directly controls, which is most of them, if not all of them, yeah, we're gonna be spotted, or by at least somebody, or even if we don't get spotted in the city, like, if we're traveling, we gotta be careful with that, because there's gonna be probably checkpoints at the different wharfs, and, you know, like, Wano, of course, has a bunch of rivers everywhere, connecting the different sections, so if we just traveled from the Flower Capital to the Curry region, we might get spotted along the way when we're trying to cross one of the rivers. Like, it's gonna be difficult to move around here. They also talk about the samurai. All these samurai that would have been helping them are now captured in the prison galley, okay? I keep saying prison galley instead of prison gallery. You know what? Screw it. It's both, okay? Every single freaking review, I say prison galley first, and I have to go back and edit it out. It's a pain. I don't know why I keep doing it, but I keep doing it. It's my personal strife, so you know what? It's the prison galley from now on. Come on here, prisoners. Come on into the prison galley. We got fried beans today. Oh, wow, I love me fried beans. I like pork and beans. Pork and beans, add a little bit of mustard to that, some ketchup. Oh my God, they're delicious. But okay, whatever. It's the prison galley. It's the prison gallery. Like, you know, coming to the gallery of prisoners. You know, they're all lined up. It's like a boutique, you know, in the middle of Soho or whatever. But no, it's the prison galley because apparently I can't get that out of my head. All right. So, we got the prisoners in the galley, all right? And there's a lot of them. They're kind of brimming. You know, there's a bunch of samurai. They pretty much just chucked anybody that looks suspicious in there because Orochi's a paranoid dude. Even the guards outside the galley are just kind of just like staring at each other and like, you know, the only reason these guys were thrown in here was because of Orochi's mistake. Right? Because that was the whole thing. Like, Yasue, he was like, oh yeah, that rebellion, that was all just a joke. That was just a gag. I can't believe Orochi fell for that. And so the guards are talking like, shouldn't we just let these guys out? They didn't do anything wrong. We rounded them up because we thought there was a rebellion, but there's not a rebellion. That was just Orochi screwed up. And the other guy was just like, well, he doesn't exactly like, he's like, no, sir, you cannot go against Lord Orochi like that. He doesn't do that. He just kind of looks at him and is like, I don't know, dude, you know, going against Lord Orochi, I like my head, all right? I'm keeping them in here. And, you know, you have to understand that. It's like the people of Wano are kind of just, like, understanding that Orochi is paranoid. But it's like, yeah, you know, like, he's a doofus, but we can't say it out loud, especially now. Like, there's freaking samurai in the streets. There's ninja everywhere. I'm not going to be the one to be like, all right, guys, come on out. This is goofy. This is just silly. Because I'm going to be the one to be executed. I got a family, man. So it makes sense that they're not, like, letting them out yet. But they understand that they're on their side, and there's going to be a way to get them out of the prison somehow, in some way, okay? So that's the situation there. The last thing Sanji and Shinobu spot when they're kind of just surveying the entire city, I'm kind of surprised that the Onibawan did not see them up there, because the Onibawan, like, they're ninja. Like, the whole point, I think, of the ninja would be to, like, be on top of roofs and stuff and observing things from above, but they haven't spotted them. But anyway, the last thing they notice is they look over and they see some kids making lanterns, right? Like lanterns, like you like little tiny, like, paper lanterns. They sell them at, like, the dollar store, like, in the summer. You just light a light and then it kind of floats up, you know, those kind of things. And so those are the sky boats for the fire festival. And Sanji was curious. He was just like, well, they're still in the festival festival mood, you know, after all this crap that happened. Like, Yasue and Komurasaki are apparently, but well, Yasue is dead, Komurasaki isn't dead, but people think they are both dead. So, you know, why are people still in such a light mood for this festival? And Shinobu explains, well, the Fire Festival is a festival to commemorate the dead. You know, so it's kind of like, you know, you set up the lanterns and stuff, and it's just like, oh, the soul's going up to heaven or whatever, something like that. You honor the dead. So because those two important people died so close to the Fire Festival, that's why everybody's kind of getting ramped up. It's just like, oh no, Komurasaki's gone. All right, well, you know, festival's in a week. Ooh, we get to commemorate Komurasaki now. Build an especially elaborate skyboat for Her Majesty. There probably will be. Probably not with Yasue, because Orochi just wouldn't allow it. But they might make like a special like giant lantern that says like Komurasaki love you forever on the side of it in kanji, and just float it up to the heavens. You know, have it become a second sun, which their radiance will shine down for all eternity. Komurasaki, we love you. You know, because that's how the country really did view her. Hiyori would be off to the side watching this like, oh my god, they really were obsessed with me. Crap, I guess I did my job right? If her job was to become the greatest courtesan ever, to the point where she could get in good graces with Orochi, to the point where she could get into the flower capital and everybody would revere her as a literal goddess on Earth, she did that pretty damn well, I'd say so, yeah, okay. So, those are the situations with the skyboats. Now we cut over to northern Ebisu town, so right outside of the capital. We see Nami, and Nami is no longer wearing her sexy kunoichi outfit that revealed all of the legs and the cleavage, unfortunately. She's just wearing a regular kimono now, which, okay, we'll probably switch back to the sexy kunoichi outfit at some point. This is Oda we're talking about, don't worry. But she's wearing just a traditional kimono right now. Beppo, Sachi, and Penguin arrive! Awesome! They're free! That means everything's good, right? No, of course it isn't, because we saw Law chained up last chapter, so that's not good. Beppo is actually, very tight-lipped about what happened. Nami's just like, oh, I heard you guys were captured. I guess you got free. That's good. And Beppo's just like, yeah, we got out. Anyway, here you go. And so Beppo hands Nami a modified version of that, the rebellion art. You know, you had like the two swans or the cranes on the fire, and then there was the snake and like the infinity symbol. So there's an addition now with two lines on the snake on the bottom there. So we don't exactly know what this means yet. Of course, the people of Wano would know what this means. It's probably an adjustment, I would say, maybe for the time or maybe the place, just to kind of change it up a little bit. The attack pretty much still has to happen during the Fire Festival, because that's like when everybody's going to be drunk off their asses, and it's like if you're ever going to have a time to do it, attack during that festival. So it's still going to be the Fire Festival. I believe that the cranes were the ones that indicated it was at 5:30, and so the cranes are not modified at all, so it might have still been the same time, but maybe a different location. And Orochi, the Orochi, I believe, was supposed to indicate, you know, Lord Orochi, like the cranes and the fire of the Kozuki clan are stepping on the snake, as if, okay, this is the time that the Kozuki clan is going to rise up and defeat Orochi once and for all. But now there are lines in between the snake. Not really sure what this indicates. Nami notices the difference, but, you know, and Beppo doesn't really explain it in great detail. He's just like, oh, you don't know, the people of this country will know. And so Nami's like, okay, well, I gotta bring this to Kinemon to understand it. Maybe be a little bit smarter about how you pass them around this time. Actually, you might not even really need to at this point, because we saw the samurai in the prison galley when Yasue was being strung up. We saw them looking at a piece of paper. When Yasue was in the prison galley before he got, you know, put up on that giant post, he was just a regular prisoner, and he probably passed that out inside of the prison, like, hey guys, here you go, just take these, don't, just keep them safe and whatever, maybe eat them after you look at them, but just here you go, this is the new plan, alright, gotcha, and then they led him outside and they put him up, and then we know what happened from there, right? So the samurai in the prison, they all know the rendezvous point now. They saw the updated image. All that's really left is for Nami to give it to Kinemon and the other scabbards, so they are on the same page. Ashura Doji and Kawamatsu have both been recruited. They're working on the rest of the Yakuza in the Udon prison right now. I'm sure Hyo is going around the rest of the Udon prison right now, talking to the other Yakuza leaders, like, hey, rally us together. So, pretty much in terms of, like, the biggest fighting forces you could get for this rebellion, I mean, having more people is always good. I mean, having just some random people that could hold a sword, I mean, you know, can anybody say cannon fodder? Today's word is cannon fodder, you know? having more people to help you out, of course, is going to be beneficial, but when it comes to the strong arms, when it comes to the people that have, like, the best skill at what they do, you pretty much got all of them, except for Denjiro, who is, of course, Yoshiro. So you got to work on that. But aside from that, I mean, everything's pretty much set when it comes to that. You don't really need to be spreading this pamphlet around the Flower Capital, not like you even really could at this point with all the Titan security. But, yeah, so that's the situation there. Now we get a little flashback from Beppo's perspective. All right, I think this might be the first Beppo flashback we've ever gotten in One Piece. It's a Bep back. Okay, so we get a flashback to what happened. All right, so Beppo, Sachi, and Penguin, they were all in the prison galley. You know, Hawkins had them there. They were tortured. They were all bloody, like, Captain, we're sorry, Captain. All right, then Law showed up. All right, here's the deal. It was basically a trade. It's just like, you know, Beppo, Sachi, and Penguin for one Trafalgar D. Water Law. I don't think Hawkins knows he's a Will of D or the Water. That was like a hidden name. But at any rate, yeah, I guess they figured, like, Beppo and the group, they didn't know anything. If anybody's going to know anything about this rebellion, it's going to be Law, all right? He's the tactical genius and all that stuff. So, yeah, and Hawkins even went one step better. He's just like, tell you what, Law, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll let your crew go, and I'll also give them back the voodoo dolls, all right? So, because that's the reason that Hawkins, I mean, that was the reason Law was being very hesitant about attacking Hawkins, because he has his straw powers and those little voodoo dolls, like, if you attack me and hurt me, then that damage will just be reflected on one of your crewmates. And so they kind of had Law against a rock and a hard place here, but Hawkins allows the voodoo dolls to emerge from his body and plop on the ground. I guess they're deactivated. You know, he can just do that whenever he wants. He can just give up lives without causing harm to the people that are the dolls. Okay, here's the thing. Hawkins is not an idiot, and he's actually been playing really smart up until this point. You know, I really have nothing to look at Hawkins and say he was being an idiot. Most of the stuff he's done up till now is fine. There was that moment with Drake when he couldn't walk into a woman's bath. That was kind of like, okay, Drake, whatever. But Hawkins seems to be smart here. Do you think it would be making any sense for Hawkins to just give up the collateral he had, like the leverage against Law's crew? Now, I was thinking about this, and there's really no way for Law to confirm one way or the other that Hawkins actually gave up the voodoo dolls that represented his crew. I was thinking it was possible for Law to do a check, like, all right then, Hawkins, well, I have to make sure you actually gave up their dolls and not somebody else's, so come over here and I'll, I don't know, take out a knife or give you a paper cut or something, and then shing, and then the damage, if it doesn't get reflected back to Beppo, Sachi, or Penguin, I know you actually gave up their dolls. But that's no way to confirm. Number one, Hawkins might not even agree to do that. Number two, Hawkins has other dolls in him. He has a limit of 10. Those are only 3. So even if Hawkins gets cut, and Beppo, Sachi, and Penguin don't get cut, and Hawkins doesn't get cut, that doesn't mean he gave up their voodoo dolls. That just means that Hawkins sent that damage to somebody else, but he still has Beppo, Sachi, and Penguin's dolls in him. He gave up 3 other ones. I'm just saying, Hawkins is a pretty smart cookie here in Wano. I don't think he would have just given that up that easily. Or maybe he gave up Beppo and Sachi, but he kept Penguins. You know, he gave up like 2 of Law's crew, some other random Joe, and he kept 1 in there just in case. Just in case Law decides to be difficult or he runs away. Because it doesn't make any sense. It would be like, this would make more sense from Hawkins' perspective. He's just like, tell you what, I'll let your friends go, but we're going to capture you, because they just capture him anyway, put the sea stone on him and everything, and then it's like, you don't tell us what we want to know, then I start hurting your crew. That would make more sense. I guess in this situation, they took Law in without a fight, but with Drake there and Hawkins there, and I'm sure the other flying headliners could have been summoned, it would have been difficult to bring in Law, but not impossible, I don't think. So yeah, I'm curious at how this is going to go here, but yeah, so Beppo, Sachi, and Penguin all got freed. Law goes in. He also gives them explicit instructions, do not tell Straw Hat that I've been captured. Do not tell, don't tell anybody that I've been captured, okay? This is just between us. All right, I think Law has a plan here. He's going to try to get out on his own, and he doesn't want anybody to interfere because that might screw up the plan even further. If he tells if Beppo were to tell the Straw Hats that Law's been captured, then all the Straw Hats are going to get together like, we need to rescue Law! And Law doesn't want that. Law's like, no, that'll cause even more problems. You might end up getting, like, even if you try to rescue me and you succeeded, then Nami and Brook might get kidnapped instead. Like, it's just a problem. Don't worry. It's just me that's being captured right now. Don't worry, I can handle this. I'm Trafalgar D. Lauder Law, so don't worry about me. I got this, right? So, and we saw that look on Law's face at the end of the last chapter, just like that smirk when he was being like about to be tortured. Some people have even said it's possible that Law could use his Oppi Oppi no Mi powers. Maybe he could have, like, you know, they have the same kind of trick he did on Punk Hazard. I'm not sure if he could do it here because he had to set up the handcuffs prior in Punk Hazard, but it's like maybe he swapped out the chains, the Sea Prism Stone chains for regular chains, and so he's not really, you know, bound by that. He could use his Devil Fruit whenever he wants. Some people were even throwing out ideas like he could separate his arms and to get out of them. The way Law was smirking, I think that was just kind of like, you know, bring it on, Hawkins. You think you can break me? You can't. But you never know. Law might have a trick up his sleeve to just get out of there whenever he wants. You know, maybe he wants to figure out how much Hawkins' crew knows before he leaves. Who knows with that? Okay. So, however, he doesn't, Beppo does not tell the Straw Hats, but he still tells the Heart Pirates. Like, Jean Bart is there and everything, and they explain to them, like, what the captain did and what Law is at, where he's at right now and everything. And Jean Bart is like, well, even though he said not to do anything with the Straw Hats and everything, we still can't sit idly by. We have to help him. He's our captain, for God's sake. Unfortunately, the life of our captain comes before the plan. Yeah, so they're gonna do something. They're gonna try to, the Heart Pirates, and that's actually a good thing. That's a really good thing, because at least this way we'll get to see what all the Heart Pirates can do in terms of fighting, because we didn't really get to see that all that much. We know Beppo is an expert in polar bear karate, but we never even saw Beppo use Electro before. We don't really see how Sachi and Penguin fight. Jean Bart is just a tank. He's just this big buff dude that's like, gadoosh. There's other members. Panda Man is even on Law's crew, so who knows? Might get to see what Panda Man is capable of. It was only anime only. We got to see Panda Man, but you never know. You never know with Oda. So yeah, they're gonna plan a jailbreak for Law, but that might not be a bad thing because we'll get to see what they're capable of for later on during the fight. Who knows? Maybe Sachi and Penguin have like this really cool like combo attack they do together or something. I don't know. But it's important because we've seen these characters in the background so many times. I want to see how Sachi and Penguin actually fight. They're two of Law's most trusted crewmates. I'm not saying they're the strongest. They don't have Devil Fruits, at least I don't think they do. But who knows? They might have hockey. We don't know. We'll have to see what they'll do. All right, we'll see. We'll see where this goes. All right. So now we cut over to Ebisu Town proper. This is a rather somber scene. We see Kanjuro literally cradling the dead body of Yasue. Now, we don't see it. It's wrapped up in cloth, because that'd be pretty grim. But he's holding his remains, and he's crying, and everybody in town as well, crying and laughing, because that's all they can do. But Kanjuro is like, don't worry, you have my word. I will make sure that his remains rest in a safe place. Probably might take him back to the Hakumai region. The Hakumai region is where Yasue ruled over as a daimyo during Odin's time. So go back to Hakumai, maybe find a nice spot in the autumn forest that's been untouched by the pollution and lay him to rest there. It might even be at the Embu temple we saw where Zoro and Hiyori were hanging out because, you know, not Embu. What? Embu, that's freaking monkey martial arts from Toriko. Where did that come from? Enma. I think the reason I did that was because Enma was Lord Third Hokage's summon, like Monkey King Enma, and Monkey Enma, and then Embu from Toriko. Yeah, I don't know where that came from, but the Enma Temple, that's like the guardian of the afterlife, might make sense for him to try to bury Yasue there, to set his remains at ease there. So that was an emotional scene there. We also have Nami and Frankie. Frankie has commandeered a tiger steed motorcycle. Okay, it looks like a tiger, but it has like antlers sticking out of its head that Frankie like grabs onto like motorcycle handles. Nami jumps on the back, just like, come on there, Nami, let's get going. It's like Tora. You know, it's like a motorcycle, but it makes Tora because Tora means tiger. Oh my god, I don't even know, like, this is a living creature. Yeah, it's saying grrr, so I don't think it's like something Frankie making a tiger-designed motorcycle, that makes perfect sense for his character, but this is an actual living creature, right? It's just they have it, and okay, so, right, Frankie and Nami, they head off, and they trust Kanjuro to burying Yasue. Alright, so that'll be a nice side arc to see Yasue cradling a corpse and walking out into the forest and burying it. I'm sure we're gonna get to see every piece of that. No, that might be, they might have included that in there just to show what happened with Yasuie's remains, and also might be a way for Kanjuro to reconnect with some other characters like Zoro and Hiyori if they're still in the Hakumai region, because they're heading off to Ringo to find, you know, Shusui. Ringo might also be a good place to bury him, because that's where that graveyard was, but the Hakumai region's where he ruled over, so I don't know. I guess it's whatever Kanjuro finds is the most appropriate, because he would at least knew who Yasuie was 20 years ago. Okay, so now we cut over to, this is actually a dock. This is a river. This is the river that is leading out of the flower capital, and if you follow this river, you can either go to Udon, Kuri, or Kibi. And they're heading directly toward the Kuri region. So this is leaving the flower capital. This is Robin and Usopp and Brook. All right, this is a funny scene. All right, we get the ha faces again. So they're doing a checkpoint, but it's Wano, so they don't really have like super really high-tech methods of determining like who is who. It's really just like, you know, hold up a picture next to somebody's face and be like, alright, I guess you're clean. So they're just holding up the images of, like, Usohachi and Orabi, and Robin and Usopp walk by doing the, hey, how you guys doing? I'm great. I'm like, you know, my face got stuck like this ever since I was a kid, you know, I made a face one too many times. You want a tutorial on how to do the ha face? Okay, we can do it together, all right? Everybody do the ha face, all right? This is a moment of bonding, coming together, all right? So first thing you gotta do is you gotta squint your eyes. You gotta do this. You also gotta like stick out your lower jaw, kinda. Get that vein popping right here, right? Huh? Yeah, so that's what you do. That's the best I got. All right. So the funniest thing here, though, is Brook is walking behind them, okay? And Brook can't really do a ha face because, well, I guess he can, but we don't see him do it. He's walking by them, but he's not invisible. It's not like he's in his soul form. Even in his soul form, he's not necessarily invisible. But anyway, he's walking behind Robin and Usopp, just kind of tiptoeing like, ooh, I'm a spooky skeleton ghost. And so they kind of just, the people in line that are doing the checkpoint are just looking at the images and like, And then another one's just like, let them go through, let them go through. They're clearly haunted by an evil spirit. I'm like, oh God, people in Wano are stupid. Like, seriously, like, there's like a, how tall is Brook? He's like 9 feet tall. There's like a 9-foot skeleton walking behind these two people. And it's like, wait, whoa, hold up. This is a little weird. You guys go off to the side here. No, that's the natural reaction. Like, there's something up with this. Maybe the 9-foot skeleton. That's like, no, they're just like, no, it's an evil spirit. Just let him go. Let him get out of here as quickly as possible. Don't report this back to Orochi. I'm like, okay, all right, let him out of here. We don't want to be cursed. I'm like, all right, fine. It was a funny scene. I liked it. So they're getting out of the flower capital. They're heading back to Kuri. Also, Nami mentioned, by the way, that Frankie and her, they're going to the Amagasa village. They're going to Tama's old village. Makes sense considering that is like an abandoned place, so there's no real, I don't think there's really any real threat, any immediate threat, if anyway, of Orochi's men finding them there in that region of Kuri. The next part we go to is an abandoned port in Kuri. Keep in mind, the Habu port in the Hakumai region is the only main port in Wano. I'm sure there were other ports at one point, actually this confirms it, but Orochi probably decimated all of those, so there's only one way in and out of the country to kind of increase the closed door policy that they had and everything. Actually, it makes sense there would have been a port on Kuri, because Kuri was Odin's region, and Odin was like, you know, this country's too cramped, we need to open it up more. So it would make sense. They're like, you know what, let's have more than one port in this country. So this is an abandoned port that is filled with a bunch of ruined ships. They look like ghost ships, okay? And Ashura Doji is showing Kinemon and Inuarashi these vessels. And over the course of the last 20 years, they were basically just traveling the land, searching far and wide, and they find a bunch of Pokemon. No, they find a bunch of ships that were ruined, and they basically took these ships and salvaged them and kind of kept them in this tiny little ruined port just in the southwestern section of the country where nobody would really look, right? And so these are going to be the ships that they're going to use to attack Onigashima. Keep in mind, Onigashima is an island, but it's not that far away from the mainland of Wano. It might only be maybe with like sailing vessels like this, it might take maybe an hour to get there, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less. It's not going to take very long to reach Onigashima, right? But they still need ships in order to carry their forces there. And Ashura Doji states, you know, these ships are in pretty sorry states, but if we fix them up, they could easily ferry over 1,000 soldiers to Onigashima. And they're thanking Ashura Doji. And Ashura Doji, that also proves right there that even though, you know, he was kind of upset with Kinemon and everybody when they first returned, he's also been preparing for the last 20 years. He still believed. He's just like, well, might as well gather as many ships as we can in case they do come back. Just in case they are there, at least, you know, we have something to work with here. It's not much, but it's something. Now, of course, we got Franky, and Franky's heading to the Curry Ridge in Amagasa, this southwestern section. This is probably not very far from Amagasa, so it's just like, okay, we can get Franky working on this. You know, Franky is the guy that built a bridge across a chasm at Thriller Bark in, like, less than 10 seconds. I know part of that was for comedic effect, but he's an amazing shipwright, all right? He could be able... These ships, I mean, they don't look seaworthy necessarily. They look pretty old. They're all 20 years old or more. They're covered with barnacles and algae, and all the windows are smashed out, but they're still recognizable as ships, okay? So I'm sure Franky could be able to spruce them up at least to the point where they can get to Onigashima, all right? So that's not a big deal there. So cool, we got at least a means to get to Onigashima. But anyway, now we cut over to the last scene of the chapter, the Muffin Kingdom, Onigashima, where the ruler Kaido resides, who may or may not be the Muffin Man. Do you know the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man? Do you know the Muffin Man? His name is Yonko Kaido. Is Kaido his literal name, like his actual birth name? I'm just bringing this up because, like, you know, Big Mom is her title. It's not her real name. Her real name's Charlotte Linlin. Whitebeard is a title. It's Edward Newgate. Shanks is his real name. Blackbeard is Marshall D. Teach. And by the way, I'm sure Shanks has the Will of D. If Shanks does not have the Will of D, I will be extremely surprised. You know, yeah, so that's just Kaido by himself. I mean, just one word. I mean, maybe his real name is something really lame. Maybe his real name is like, hi, I'm Jeff Perkins. Nice to meet you. I work in tech support. I changed my name to Kaido. It's more imposing. You know, I'm gonna be a Yonko after all. That's probably not that uncommon of a name. So if your real name is Jeff Perkins, congratulations, you got a shout out from me in this video. Way to go, Jeff. All right, so there's a guy named Jeff Perkins watching this right now, and he's like, holy crap, he said my name. I'm like, okay, well, you know, keep it up, Jeff, keep it up. All right, but no, yeah. So the cooks on Onigashima are going crazy. They're like bringing after bowl a giant dongo. They're laying it in front of Big Mom as like an offering, even when she's all chained up with the sea prism, you know, and she's just, you know, she doesn't have her crew with her. She's still like striking terror in the hearts of the Beast Pirates. The Beast Pirates are even saying, like, man, every time she says a word, my heart is chilled to the freaking core. It's just, ah. So, Big Mom, last time we saw her, after Queen did his Brachio bomber on her, you know, boom, you know, she got knocked out. Now, some people have said it was because of the Brachio attack that she fell unconscious. I just assumed it was because of her weird anatomy, like, she's just tired and she fell asleep. Either way, it doesn't matter, because afterwards, Queen was like, you know, inject her, knock her out, use all the trank we got. Apparently it didn't work that long because she woke up and she's here. I mean, I'm sure if they could have kept her tranquilized, they would have done it. So maybe the tranquilizer just had no effect on her whatsoever and she just woke up naturally, you know, and she's like, give me food. However, she's still chained up, which implies that, like, this is Big Mom we're talking about. If she really wanted to break out of those freaking Sea Prism Stone cuffs, if she was able to do it, I think she would have done it by now. She would have been like, screw this, and then just break out and then attack everybody, right? So it seems to be like, I don't know if it's just like the amount of Sea Prism they use, like they're really chained up her goods so she can't break out of it, or even with her immense strength, she just can't do it. But even so, she's funneling the Oshiruko. She doesn't seem to be that tired, even though this is supposed to be like 100% Sea Prism Stone, not the same weakened stuff they used on Luffy at the prison. This is supposed to be like pure Sea Prism Stone. She doesn't seem to be like, oh, I'm so drained right now. She seems normal, so that just is a testament to how tough she is. And she keeps saying, she keeps funneling the dongo down her throat, and she's like, oh, take these off of me, you know, whatever. Then we cut to King and Queen and Jack. They're all there all three calamities watching Big Mom constantly until Kaido shows up. He's probably taking a nap, you know? It's just like that. It makes sense. I mean, they're doing everything appropriately. They're keeping her chained up. They have all calamities watching her at all times. This makes sense. Jack is kind of sitting there just looking at him and just like, why the hell did you bring her here, Queen? And Queen's just like, well, shut up, Jack. What was I supposed to do? You know, keep her in my prison completely cut off from the rest of Wano? Oh, yeah, Jack, that was a really smart move. Way to go, Jack. And you win the prize for the most intelligent once again. You know, so they're kind of arguing back and forth with each other because they're all kind of like brothers, maybe not in the literal sense, but brothers, you know? And so the most fascinating part of this whole thing is actually Big Mom's line to King. So King, you know, he's the BDSM gimp guy wearing all the leather and everything, and Big Mom looks over at him as, you know, she's eating her, not Oshiruko, her dango, and just like, oh yeah, you're King, you know, you come over to my crew, and King's just like, I refuse. Big Mom elaborates. She says, in the land of Tot, in my country, there are only 3 races in the entire world that are not represented. We know giants are one of them because that caused the whole problem with Lola and Loki and everything, so we know giants are not represented, and she doesn't indicate what species that King is, but she implies that she thought they were lost to the sands of time. We thought one of those races didn't even exist anymore, but here you are, so come and join us. And King, of course, declines because he's under Kaido's employ, but that leads into a few questions here. Okay, so what are the 3 races? We know giants are one, absolutely. We have seen Tontatas in Totland, we saw Minks in Totland, we saw merfolk in Totland, we saw fishmen in Totland, Third Eye Tribe, that was represented by Pudding. You know, so sky races we have not seen in Totland. That might have been the one she was referring to. There are a few problems with that. Number one, King, in the manga, it is very clearly shown his wings are colored black. In the anime opening, over the top, we see King with white wings. I mean, like, if Oda really wanted them to be white, I mean, it's manga. You can either choose black or white for the colors, and he went black. So I'm assuming that was Oda's intention, and that was a problem. That was an error on the anime side of things, that King's wings were white instead of black, because they're very clearly shown black right here. So it might be, like, we didn't see any sky people living in Totland, okay? That might have been the race Big Mom was referring to, lost to the sands of time, but I don't think it is, because Big Mom's crew had to deal with a Rouge. Snack and Cracker dealt with a Rouge directly. A Rouge is a Bricken. He has the white wings. So while Sky people might not be living in Totland, I think it makes more sense that that was the other race Big Mom was referring to. You know, she might have been like, you know, giants, sky races, and whatever the hell King is. That makes more sense, because you'd think Big Mom would at least know, like, oh, okay, well, even though we couldn't bring a Rouge over to our side, he exists. He's very clearly a member of the sky races, okay? He's a Bricken. So, they exist. They're not lost to time. And also, like, Sky Islands, like, you know, back when Luffy and the crew went to one at Mocktown, you know, freaking Bellamy was like, Sky Islands don't exist. But I think a lot, at least the strongest crews, like the Yonko, at least, plus the world government, they have to know Sky people exist. They have to know there's islands up there. It's just too much of a pain in the ass to go up there. It's like a separate kind of land, you know, so they're more worried about the Blue Sea world affairs, but that doesn't mean they know they don't exist, right? I'm pretty sure Big Mom knows that there are islands up there, and that was what she was talking about. She's like, all right. Now, if that's the case, though, what is King? If he's not a member of the Sky Races and he's not a giant, clearly, what is he? A race that was apparently lost to the sands of time. Maybe something we've never even heard of up to this point, like a lost race. Well, I mean, if we're going with this, maybe it could be the opposite of the sky, where you have, like, references to heaven and, like, God and everything, and you have literal, like, not literal, but, like, angels, people walking around with, like, wings, like typical angels. Maybe King is, like, a devil race. Or, you know, an evil, corrupted angel race or something like that, walking around with black wings. Maybe if he takes off all that leather, all that BDSM gear, it turns out like he looks like a literal demon. And that would also explain the fire powers. King is a hellspawn. I love this story, you know? All right, that's it. That makes perfect perfect sense. No, seriously, think about this, okay? He's got black wings, so like the opposite of an angel. They talk about it like it's been lost to time, so he might be the only one left, or there might be a small group of them left. That's the reason we didn't see them up until this point in the story. But it would make sense that maybe Big Mom would have read about them in books or something like that. We know King has a devil fruit that allows him to turn into a pteranodon. So, you know, that's his ancient zone ability. He can only have one devil fruit ability, yet he also has an ability to just light himself on fire. We see him in his pteranodon form, he has fire. We see him in his human form, well, human form, he has fire. So that has to be coming from something else, probably indicative of his race. Also, he's covered head to toe in BDSM gear. We just thought that was his kink. You know, he's just into the kind of that stuff on Saturday nights, you know, like Queen, he just walks into Jack or Queen's room and he's just like, it's time. It's that time of the week again, you know, and Queen busts out the freaking giant, like, razor whip and just like, all right, back, here we go. It's always weird when we have to do this. Oh, do it. You know, we just thought that was his thing. But it's possible he's all dressed up like that because he's ashamed of his appearance. He might have, like, a demon devilish kind of appearance. He might be all scaly under there or some shit and have horns and jagged teeth, you know? So I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna go with King being the lost, like, hell-spawn devil race in One Piece. Let's go with it. I mean, it's like, if you keep on going down and drill underneath the ocean floor, there's like a literal hellscape down there. You know, like, that, fine. Okay, that's my headcanon right now. It might be something else later, but that's what we're going with right now, okay? So, also, by the way, we have a funny scene here that happened with King because he's sitting there watching Big Mom eat all this dongo, and King is there just, like, crossing his hands, just like, okay, I could have sworn I kicked her ship off the waterfall yesterday. Just like they haul Big Mom in, and he's like, guys, I swear to God, I knocked her off the country yesterday. Well, what's she doing here, King? So, yeah, they talk about that, like her ship is probably destroyed and her crew is separated, but here she still is. She managed to make it. So what are you gonna do? So I'll tell you what you're gonna do. You're gonna bring Daddy to town. You know, you're gonna bring Kaido in. So, you know, she's sitting there like, take off these cuffs, and they're like, no! And Queen's like, you old hag, what are you saying? And so that takes balls, by the way, for Queen to like call Big Mom an old hag to her face. But anyway, then Kaido rocks in. Okay, here we go. He walks in, he probably woke up, and he's just like, I'm not paying child support. Pfft, I don't care, you, or whatever the court says, I'm not paying you a single berry out of my pocket, all right? And then Big Mom, she's like, I'll take off these cuffs. And Kaido's like, you know what? Take off her cuffs. And so they're like, what? He's like, did I stutter? I'm like, okay. Takes it off. Big Mom gets up, she's like, Mama, come to me, Napoleon! And so she takes the sword out of her hat. By the way, the explanation we got from Napoleon is hilarious. It's like, Mama, you're back to normal! I'm so glad! I didn't know what to do earlier. I was just so shy without you around. So that's the reason. That's the reason Napoleon just kept his eyes shut and he didn't, like, when Chopper was, like, looking at Napoleon and kind of, like, poking him, like, is this hat thing still active? He was still active. He was just shy. He's just like, oh, please quit poking me. I don't want to talk to you right now. Oh my God. Why don't you just go back to normal, Big Mama? Please help me. Oh my God. I'm just gonna pretend to be asleep. I'm just gonna pretend to be asleep and everything will be fine. You know, so that was Napoleon. That was the reason he didn't do anything, which makes sense. I mean, he's part of Big Mom's soul, so if Big Mom can't remember, I mean, that might throw his mental state into mental state into a state of chaos. That's what I wanted to say. I had to use state twice, but whatever, it's fine. So yeah, no, he's back to normal though, and she takes out Napoleon, giant sword. Kaido rocks out with his Kanombo, his giant club, and he's like, I told you what would happen if you came here, right? I'd kill you. And Big Mom's like, Mama, you'll try. And so the chapter ends with Napoleon and a combo and just boom, boom. And we cut out to the last scene, freaking Conqueror's Haki just emanating out of Onigashima, just crackling out of the Muffin Fortress, and in the sky above, the heavens rankle and the clouds break apart. Very reminiscent from pretty much the exact same thing that happened when Shanks and Whitebeard clashed at the end of Enies Lobby. You know, this world will be thrown into chaos. You think I'm afraid of that, boy? I am Whitebeard! That was just kind of like a clash of, like, not meant to be a serious brawl. This might lead into a serious brawl, because Kaido does not want Big Mom on his land, okay? You know? Or, other option, this could either evolve or devolve, depending on your perspective, into Kaido and Big Mom just getting it on, you know? Like, this one moment, it's like their foreplay, you know? Just like they were working together on a crew at one point. They clash 1 minute, and this, like, everything just chaos. We even get to see all of the members of the Beast Pirates, like, get us off Onigashima, we don't want to be here anymore! And so they're just clashing, like, boom, boom! You got a little stronger, boom! Mama, you did too, you big oaf! Boom, boom! And they're just, like, clashing and just looking at each other's eyes, and then it's just like, they just go at it, they just hit the ground, and, like, Onigashima shakes, all of the Wano country shakes, you know, and just the entire fortress begins to collapse as Conquerors is shot off everywhere, and the Calamities are like, abandoned ship, we gotta get out of here! King turns into a Pteranodon, they all jump on his back, they fly off, you know, and that is the bonding, the formation of the Big Mom and Kaido alliance right there. And then we cut back to them later, and they're just in the wrecked out ruins of the place, and Kaido's like just smoking a cigarette. What the hell is wrong with me? Seriously, what the hell is wrong with me? I apologize for that mental image. Actually, I don't. Screw it. I hope you have that mental image for the rest of your days. Oh, man. Who do you think would be on top? Okay, enough of that, All right, so, end of the chapter. Like I said, not the end of Act 2. That would have been the perfect end of Act 2. You know, not even holding back or anything. They seem to be just going at it full strength, because they really don't like each other, okay? Big Mom tried to do the alliance thing just for, like, the common enemy sort of thing, but even that was very tentative. So, what I think is going to happen now, well, obviously they're just going to eliminate each other and just take each other out and then no problems, right? No. I think they're going to clash for a little bit. They're going to argue. Probably a bunch of Kaido's crew are going to pass out from the Conqueror's exchange. But I think eventually they're just going to get to the point where it's like, okay, what are we going to do about the Straw Hats and Law and everything? Like, what are we going to do about this? And I think they're going to come to the agreement where it's like, okay, we're going to work together tentatively for this. Just to eliminate Straw Hat. But then after this, we'll worry about that when we finally finish them off. We first have to worry about defeating them first, and that's going to be difficult, right? So, I think it's going to fall apart later. I don't think it's going to last until the end of Wano. But they're going to try to build up somewhat of an alliance, just kind of like, you know, all right, fine, you old bag. You go over here and you do that. I'll go over here and I do this. And we take out the Straw Hats and we'll talk about it later. You know, whatever. We'll play a frickin' thumb wrestling match to see who gets his head or something. I don't know. But it's going to fall apart at some point. It's going to be like, you know, Big Mom's going to overstep her boundaries, or she's going to try to take Straw Hat for herself, and then Kaido's going to get involved, and then we're going to have a kaiju battle over Wano. Also, I want to say, you know, the heights right now, I mean, the heights always kind of change with Oda sometimes. I mean, he can retcon it sometimes, like with Oars' height. But it seems like Big Mom and Kaido are, like, at least from the panels we see in this chapter, the same height, roughly. And, because we see Kaido standing over Big Mom, and Big Mom is, like, sitting down at this point, so she has to get up. They would look about the same height when they're clashing. You know, I'm going to trust Artor from the way at least it was determined, like, how tall Big Mom and... Well, Big Mom's height was actually given. It's, like, 8.8 meters. Kaido, though, compared to some other characters, because we saw comparisons before between regular humans, he's, like, 6 meters tall. Now, like I said, Oda could have always, like, made a mistake, and he could have just changed it later. I'm just saying, you know, based on what we've seen up till now, it seems like either Big Mom is a little shorter or Kaido is a little taller, so take that whatever you will. But But yeah, this was a great chapter. I really would have been cool if it had been the end of Act 2 because this was great. But I guess maybe next chapter might just like wrap it up. I mean, maybe Oda wants to end Act 2 with a scene on Luffy because we ended Act 1 with Luffy going into the prison. Maybe Act 2 will end with Luffy leaving the prison. So maybe we're going to get one more chapter focused on Luffy's side of things. He's healed up, he's recovered, he's gathered up everybody in the prison. We have all the Yakuza, we have Raizo and everybody, and they're leaving the prison. And that'll be the proper end of Act 2. But we're going to have to wait 2 weeks for that because there's a break. So anyway, thanks for watching the video, everybody. Yeah, have a great one. This will be Tekking signing out. And what the hell is King? I'll probably be making a video about that tomorrow. But yeah, comment below on what do you think about King. That was easily, I mean, the Yonko clash was cool. It was just epic to see. But the coolest part of this, for me, at least learning stuff new about the story and the lore, was King's species. So yeah, let me know below what you think about the Hellspawn theory. Later.